The FAA will begin cutting thousands of flights at the nation's biggest airports, all because of the ongoing government shutdown.
That means long lines, delays, and cancellations are about to get worse, sending travelers into turmoil just weeks before the holidays. The flight cuts are being made due to mounting pressure on the country's air traffic controllers and security screeners who are working without pay. And pressure is also building to restore SNAP benefits to people who need food assistance.
We have team coverage on the fallout from the shutdown. Sandra Mitchell has the latest on the fight over food benefits, but we begin with John Finolio at LAX. John.
Sharon, Micah, good evening to you. Things are moving fairly smoothly here tonight at LAX, but travelers know the calm may not last. Starting tomorrow, the FAA is canceling flights at dozens of airports across the country, upending travel for thousands of people. James McMillan is flying home to Florida a day early, and with good reason.
Because I heard it was coming tomorrow. Yeah, 10% shutdown across the board. So I pay attention to the news to see what's going on. I think everybody should do the same thing and adjust their travel plans accordingly.
Starting Friday, the FAA will begin to slash air traffic at 40 of the nation's busiest airports, a drastic move officials say is necessary to keep the skies safe amid growing staff shortages.
I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers.
Thousands of air traffic controllers and TSA security personnel have been working without pay for weeks. Many more are calling out sick, leaving long lines of passengers waiting to be screened. According to the FAA, even before the shutdown, nearly 50% of all major air traffic control facilities face staffing shortages.
On a normal day, there are 44,000 flights in the air. Starting tomorrow through the weekend, there'll be 4,000 fewer flights. Those flights are being taken off the schedule. So each passenger will get a notification as to which flights are canceled and what their recourse is, which may not be a lot. Because remember, it's all about connecting flights for so many people. And if you can't make your connecting flight, you can't make your onward flight.
But it won't happen all at once. Airlines will have about a week to increase flight cancellations. Starting Friday, airlines will be required to cut flights by 4%. Then 6% by Tuesday, November 11th, 8% by Thursday the 13th, and 10% by Friday the 14th.
That means widespread flight cancellations, supply chain issues, hundreds of thousands of passengers dealing with disruptions to travel every day.
Republican and Democratic lawmakers are blaming each other for refusing to negotiate to fund the government.
Republicans need to come back to work, sit at the table with Democrats to negotiate an end-of-year spending plan that includes an agreement on extending the health care tax credit.
For travelers, the gridlock in D.C. means more uncertainty, cancellations, longer delays, and plenty of frustration.
Everything is a much longer wait. It is frustrating.
I don't think there's any amount of pressure on Congress. I think they're just very stubborn, and they're not thinking about the American people.
They need to get this fixed. They're going to hurt a lot of innocent people.
All right, the big four airlines have announced cancellations for tomorrow. So American Airlines has canceled about 220 flights, United about 180 flights, Delta 170, and Southwest Airlines about 120 flights canceled. Most of those big airlines are offering full refunds or free flight changes due to the shutdown cuts. Just remember, if you do have to fly tomorrow, you should consider your itinerary highly vulnerable. You absolutely should arrive early, and just remember to expect delays. Of course, all of these airlines will be ramping up these flight cancellations in the coming days to meet that 10% threshold of overall flight cancellations. We're live at LAX. I'm John Finolio, sending it back to you in Hollywood.
John, thank you. And as the government shutdown continues, people who depend on SNAP benefits to feed their families are suffering, caught in the middle of what appears to be a political battle. A federal judge today ordered the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP benefits by using emergency funds already set aside by Congress. And he ordered the government to comply by tomorrow.
The Trump administration has already filed a notice to appeal the ruling. Sandra Mitchell live in the news center with more on the fight over feeding millions of Americans. Sandra.
An absurd ruling. That's how Vice President J.D. Vance reacted to this judge's order, saying almost immediately the Trump administration will appeal. And tonight, the food benefit delays drag on. Millions of Americans in food lines and in limbo.
You can't continue, and people are struggling. People are hurting. This is creating an enormous amount of pain. It just needs to end.
Republicans and Democrats refusing to budge on the government shutdown. But a federal judge today ordering the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP food assistance for 42 million Americans by tomorrow. Democrats say families are going hungry because of a lack of leadership in the White House.
It's a my way or the highway approach. That's the reason why Republicans have shut the government down up until this point. But it's not working for the American people.
The judge's order came after the Trump administration said it would provide only partial food stamp benefits. And tonight, the Trump administration says it will appeal the order.
It's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation.
The SNAP food benefit has been around since 1965. This is the first time in its history the benefits have been delayed. In a scathing order, Rhode Island federal judge John McConnell said the problem could and should have been avoided.
We know that even if the Trump administration does act immediately, there will still be a delay. There are still people walking around with EBT cards that are empty. Administratively, it's going to take some time, potentially weeks, hopefully not months, for people to obtain those benefits.
The SNAP benefit, by the way, for a family of 4 here in California can be up to $975 per month. The Trump administration has already said it will take several weeks to deliver even those partial benefits. Live in News Center, I'm Sandra Mitchell. Cher, back to you.
Sandy, thank you. New horrifying video tonight of the moment a massive cargo plane crashed, creating a deadly fireball in Kentucky. Investigators say the UPS plane just lost its left engine when it cleared a fence line. The crippled plane then slammed into buildings that surrounded the airport in Louisville. 3 crew members aboard the plane are among the 13 people killed. 9 people remain unaccounted for tonight. NTSB officials say they are reviewing the plane's maintenance records. Earlier tonight, a vigil was held to honor the victims.
This was a hard day. This has been a really a tough couple of days for us at the IPA, for the community of Louisville, a tight-knit community, for this tragedy that happened really before our very eyes.
Authorities are still trying to identify each of the victims. The data recorders on the plane could offer insight into what happened in the moments before the crash.
Federal prosecutors have subpoenaed the LA Fire Department for firefighters' text messages and communications about smoke and reported hot spots near the Lackman fire that broke out on January 1st. That subpoena, issued by a federal grand jury, is connected to an ongoing ATF investigation that seeks messages from New Year's Eve through January 7th. The LA Times is reporting that firefighters warned their battalion chief that the ground was still smoldering, but they were ordered to leave anyway. It's a decision that investigators say may have contributed to the Palisades fire that broke out 7 days later. LA Mayor Karen Bass has ordered an internal investigation. Others are calling for an independent review.
California's insurance commissioner is under fire after an investigation revealed an alleged secret deal with insurers before January's devastating wildfires. Survivors of the Eaton and Palisades fires gathered today in Altadena to demand Ricardo Lara resign as hundreds of homeowners struggle to recover.
The victims say no one in power is holding the insurance companies responsible. Mary Beth McDade live in the Palisades with more. MB.
Yeah, Mike and Chair, many fire victims say that this is just adding salt to an already very large wound.
Thousands of families lost coverage just before the disaster struck.
Altadena and Palisades fire victims gathered in Altadena to express their outrage after learning that insurance commissioner Ricardo Lara privately struck a deal with insurers, allowing them to drop tens of thousands of policyholders ahead of the LA fires. Fire victims learned of the deal from a New York Times report, which found that about 11,000 policies were not renewed in or near areas that burned in January.
What is even harder to accept, and what literally keeps me up at night, is that no one in power is holding these companies accountable.
According to the Times, when insurers threatened to leave California in 2023, saying it was too expensive to insure homes in all the high-risk fire areas, the Newsom administration compromised with them and allowed them to raise rates as long as they agreed to write policies in the state's fire-prone areas.
He said that his plan would make insurance companies increase their sales in fire areas.
But the Times found loopholes in a secret deal that was negotiated with the insurance industry that all but eliminated that guarantee. And instead of renewing policies in high-risk fire areas, the insurance companies eliminated them, offloading billions in costs and liabilities, and still raised homeowners' rates. The Newsom compromise was also supposed to keep homeowners off the state's overburdened FAIR Plan. But the opposite occurred, and thousands of homeowners were forced